right, what is going on, Brad? Man, we got
Buddy?
another episode coming at you today. Dude, it's good to see you. How you been?
Doing awesome. Life's good. So, markets are moving. That's exciting.
Right. How's the Costa Rican life?
Costa Rica's good. Got a little bit more time here, but yeah, it's been great.
Good deal, Ben. We've been talking about getting out there ourselves, so who knows? We might join you at some point if you go back later on this year. So
Everybody needs a little adventure in the jungle every now and then.
that's right. Put the phones down. Just step away from the charts. Nothing can ping you.
Yeah.
And just go enjoy some life.
Yeah.
You gotta do that. Well, this episode, we're doing our day 1 of 4 of a 4-week boot camp. I should say week 1 of a 4-week boot camp that we're putting together. So we're going to talk today about tokenomics. Okay.
Yep.
But first, before we get into that, I've got an article that I came across a couple of days ago that I think is pretty important. It's got some bullish news in it that I wanted to talk about. So we'll talk about that. And then Brad's going to hit a little bit of the market for us. And because we've got a little uptick going right now, we're trying to figure out, did we hit bottom? Are we going to range here? What does the next, few weeks look like? And so Brad's going to take a look at that. So without further, and then we'll dive into the tokenomics. Okay. So we'll spend 10 minutes or so here on getting an update for you guys. I'm going to pull up this article that I have, and I'm going to switch my screen here, and we can take a look at this. All right. So this article, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, make that bigger. All right, so this article, there's a couple of different versions of it, but it came out a couple of weeks ago, actually, July 4th. The headline, the central bank for central banks. So this is like the mecca, if you will, of central banks, okay? To allow banks to keep 1% of reserves in Bitcoin. Like that, I read that headline. That is huge. That's absolutely huge. That says really good things of heading in the right direction for crypto. So, we've had this, kind of tank, if you will, gone into this bear market, trying to find the bottom and everything, and one comment I made last episode, and Brad and I both kind of talked about this, is we feel like it's going to take regulation to come out of this. And honestly, I feel like this is kind of that first baby step into that. So where these central banks start to have some of this stuff on their bankrolls, right? Absolutely. And so they're preparing, in my opinion, for what's to come, right? So I definitely see regulation on the near horizon. Within the next couple of years, hopefully sooner than later. But this article, so the kind of sub headline here, the Bank for International Settlements is an international financial institution owned by central banks that fosters international monetary and financial cooperation and serves as a bank for central banks. Okay, so they released this. I don't even know what you call it, but essentially these. What's the word I'm looking for? Guidelines, if you will, for what they can hold now. Okay, right. So there's a group 1 crypto asset that they're calling, which is your Bitcoin. Okay, that's the only essentially one within the group 1, and then everything else falls into group 2. Okay, for group 2 assets, they can only hold a smaller amount of that within this whole 1% of reserves. Okay, and so this right here, where it talks about this Swiss bank, International Settlements, intends to extend its hand to new asset class by allowing banks to hold up 1% of reserves, which amounts to over $1.8 trillion in total. Okay, the market cap of all of crypto currently is hovering around that $1 trillion mark. We've come up above it just within the past week or so. So imagine tripling the current market cap and getting right back to where we were November of last year, right? Just with these central banks coming in and adding, they want it. They've been keeping their eyes on this, but they needed somebody to tell them that it's okay to do it, right? Because that's just how the central banking system works.
Yeah.
And here comes this article letting them know that, hey, you can start spending some reserves. And out of all the central banks, what does that amount to? $1.8 trillion. That will nearly triple the current market cap.
Mm.
So if that's not bullish news, I don't know what else is.
Yep.
So you could
Yeah.
definitely start seeing some uptick, and shoot, it could even be what we're seeing right now,
Right.
right?
Percent.
So you guys can go check out this article if you want. I'll try to put a link in the show notes. This is the Rio Times, but if you just search like 1% of reserves, central bank, 1% of reserves in Bitcoin, you can find an article like this. It'll give you a little bit more information on the group one, group two, and what this bank's role is in the
Is like
larger central
group
bank.
is group two, Mike, is that going to be like your Ethereum and like, your layer ones and stuff like that? And then you're going to have like your XRPs and is that kind of the way that works? You're going to have like the ones that like work with the government and the banking systems, Cardanos, your XRPs and things like that. And
Yep.
then you're going to have your layer ones and then potentially I would imagine they aren't going to allow for like the speculative, like super speculative type stuff. But
Well, they might, just based on this chart here and this little diagram. Now, this doesn't give us everything, so it is kind of in code. I know there is like a deeper released a white paper, if you will, whatever you want to call it, that goes into more detail. I don't know if that is, for everybody's eyes at this point. But you got group one on the left where it talks about tokenized traditional assets and stable coins. So those actually go in, but they meet certain classification conditions.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that white paper that's been released by this central bank gives more structure for what this looks like. And then group two, it's the same thing, except it has unbacked crypto assets in there. So that could be NFTs, right? I mean, that falls into that category, honestly. But then things like XRP and some other, all the other coins that fall into that falls into unbacked crypto assets, right? And so that's why they're reducing the risk on that group too.
Sure.
There's an exposure limit that they have.
Yeah.
But this is kind of cryptic with this group one, group two, but you can kind of make some assumptions. Bitcoin definitely falls into the group one. And then probably some of those stable coins that are backed by gold or backed by dollars, with like USDC, different ones. The algorithmic stable coins are not going to fall into that category. Right. So anyways, look up this article. It's intriguing. It's good news. It's definitely that step toward regulation that I believe, because why not get the central banks in a position to ride the wave next, the next wave up, if they're not bringing in regulation, right? That's just how this reads to me. So,
yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Regulation definitely will change things, and as the banks get more involved, this is just gonna go nuts. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that's the money. Like, we have institutional money in it, but not to the scale that we need it. I mean, if you think about 1% of all central banks, 1% of their reserves equals $1.8 trillion. Right. Like, you do the math on that.
Oh yeah.
There's $100 trillion just sitting in those central banks and reserves.
Well, and the other thing that's funny is you think about it, you think about the market that banks trade in, right? Banks trade in the foreign exchange market. Like, that's like the major thing for banks, is to trade in the foreign exchange market. Well, the foreign exchange market is a multiple $1 trillion a day market movements. It's like $6 to $8 trillion a day market movement, and in the forex markets. Well, like, if they are going to start doing the same thing in the crypto markets,
seriously.
So you could see that same kind of reaction coming down the line as this starts to expand more into what regulations are put on these banks for them being able to participate in these markets. So this is big, so that's great.
I think it also states, those people who are saying Bitcoin is going to zero, or that it's not worth anything. This totally combats that. Well, right. I mean, we wouldn't put our reserve funds at risk like that if we just thought it was going to zero. Right?
The Bitcoin going to zero folks just have little to no education on what,
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, they don't know as much as the
you
next
know,
guy, which is
um,
fine. Do some
yeah,
research.
yeah, no,
So,
100%.
what you
So,
got for us on the charts, man?
well, let me share real quick and jump in here.
Yep.
And we're on CoinGecko because let's look at today. Look at that. Perfect two across the board.
Oh, that's cool.
Bitcoin is at $22,222 at the moment. So here we are right there. You can see we're up in the last 24 hours, almost 5.5%, 6.5% on the week. We kind of fluctuated. We were stuck in that, 20,000 to 19,000 range, and it was just like there, and we'll look at a chart in a second, and we finally have broken out over 21. And so this is interesting. We're kind of in an interesting spot. Are we gonna finally get that rebound, that balance that we've been talking about, the little bit of relief in this bear market that has just been basically straight down for 6 months? Are we finally going to get a nice little relief bounce? This could be the beginning of that relief bounce. We could see ourselves, move up a little bit. We'll take a look at the charts in a minute. Ethereum, big moves. Almost, we were at $880 just a few weeks ago, and we're up 26% on a different computer. I'm like sitting over here trying to hit my cursor that like highlights everything. I'm on a different computer today. I'm like, why isn't it not doing it?
That's funny.
Oh yeah, I'm on a different computer. So we're at 26, 27% on the week. So that's great. 10% on the day. And we actually surpassed 1,500 a little while ago this morning. So that's great. And you see, your stable coins rolling in, and then BNB. BNB, I think, is going to be a big coin in the future. Binance is the biggest exchange. I think it's going to have the strongest exchange token. It obviously does right now. So this is, BNB is proven to stay here in the top 5, top 8 for sure for a long time. So I think BNB has the potential to be in a really solid investment down the road. And then XRP. So you got XRP here, and then Solana, Cardano, and of course Doge is still sticking in the top 10. So there's our top 10. Everything's in the green right now. Bitcoin's in the green, so it's going to make everything else in the green.
Right.
So that's where we're at. The total market cap is up almost 5% in the last 24 hours. And you can see that we are sitting over 1 trillion for the first time in a few weeks.
Yep.
So back over 1 trillion. That's a great thing for our market cap and for where we're at as a total crypto space right now. I like the 1 million level, or the 1 trillion level, just as a layer of stability to the marketplace. So I like seeing us here.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good place to be.
Let's jump into the Bitcoin chart just so we can take a look and see how all that looks right now. And you can see we had a little uptick. I'm gonna bring this back just a hair. So let's take this down to a 4-hour chart, or let's go to a 4-hour chart so we can kind of see this a little bit better. And you can see just how we've been kind of ranging. Let's zoom this in.
There's some people that made a lot of money in this little range.
A lot of ranging, and then you kind of had this area here that we weren't breaking out of, and then boom, right here we've now broken out of this range. So this could potentially take us back up to where this drop off started. So that would be a big move if we go back to the daily.
I mean, look, there's nothing really stopping us, in these mid 20,000s.
Yeah, there's nothing stopping us to go back up towards 27, 28,000. So you could see a nice relief rally back up into this range, and then see us range here for a little while, depending on what the market conditions do. So
what's the top of that range you're looking at? 28,000?
I'm looking at 27 to 28,000. Yeah. In somewhere in that range is where this could go. It could stop based on this wick. So 25. 25.5 could be kind of where it stops. But this range is somewhere to be looking for Bitcoin to more than likely top out. It may top out right now. It's
Yeah,
kind
there's
of
still a
creating
little
equal
pressure there.
highs. It's kind of creating some equal highs over here.
Right.
And so it could create equal highs and then bounce back down and range again and then try to break out. So, if you're a day trader, if you're looking at the markets and you're trying to determine a good entry, you can kind of determine your entry patterns based on how you like to trade. I like to see a break of a range, a retest of the zone, and then see it go. So, if I was going to trade this range, on this larger daily chart, I would want to see, this break continue to happen. And then I would want to see a retest down at the level, and then I want to see it come back up.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll double click. And so I would be looking to take the entry here.
Right. Yeah.
So that's a strategy that I use, not financial advice by any means, but you look for a zone to be broken, watch it come down, retest the levels, so somewhere in this area, retest these levels and then bounce off of them to really make that move up.
Yeah.
So that's the story with Bitcoin. Let me switch over so I can get to Ethereum. All right, I want to show you Ethereum on the weekly chart, and you can kind of see what happened here. So I have this line across here marked. This is the 2017 high. So if we were to zoom out, you'll see 2017 high right here.
Yep.
And so we're just breaking through that again. That was at 14.5 basically.
That's really positive.
So just over $1,400 is where that line is. Let's see, it's at 14.18.
Yep.
Where that line is. And so you can see we broke back through it. Some people are going to say, hey, we bottomed out and now we're recovering, and 880 or whatever chart you're on, that's going to be the bottom. 887 on this particular chart. This is a Bitfinex feed. And some people are going to say, hey, okay, we hit the bottom, and now we're going to range here before we go into the next bull cycle. Maybe. Right. Maybe we might be done. We might have hit that 2017 high, just went below it, and now we're going to range here around it. That could be the case. If we're going to have a bigger rally, you could see, this continue to ride up, just like what we were talking about with Bitcoin. Maybe it's going to ride up to like 22 and touch, some of this area here where you've got this zone that plays across right here. So maybe it comes into this area. But you still have the potential to see this come back all the way down, because you've got a lot of space. Got a lot of space right here.
Right.
It's a lot of space right here that it could still potentially come down to. You got people that think that this has the potential to come all the way back down to here.
Goodness.
And these levels.
Which is 275.
If you see something like that, I mean, yeah, it can definitely do that. So it's all a matter of what happens, and that's why it's important to watch the charts and determine like how you want to play it. Again, if you are doing a dollar cost average strategy, you're going to be in good shape at any of these levels, because highs were in the fours, almost 5,000. Right. If you're getting something at $1,000, that's not a bad spot to be. So, right. My personal belief is that we're going to have a nice relief rally, and then maybe see us drop below this, maybe come into these ranges, and then make our way back up again. So we'll see. I still think that we could be potentially looking at a November market bottom. based on when the market top was in November. And then the time frame of roughly 1 year is typically when a bear market bottom hits. So if that's the case, November could still be on the table, but that's to be seen. So let's jump into some tokenomics.
Let's do it, man.
So tokenomics is what makes everything. It is the understanding of what makes everything work in crypto. Like how do you choose what to invest in and everything? It's going to be, simply put, just based on I pulled up this coin market cap website talking about the basics because it makes it simple. So it's like tokenomics is simply understanding the supply and the demand characteristics of a cryptocurrency. And so, what makes the price is, the price of a cryptocurrency is what the current market cap is divided by how many coins or tokens there are. And so, you can go through and read all about tokenomics and what is a token and how does supply work and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you can read something like this, and I'm not going to bore you by reading this to you. Anybody can just go to this website, click on this article. But let's actually look at the tokenomics. So let's pull up Bitcoin. And so on what I love about this is on CoinGecko or even CoinMarketCap, either website, they do basically the same thing. They'll show you, okay, here is the market cap. And you can see when you hover over that, it says market cap equals current price times the circulating supply. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this market cap and there is your circulating supply. Okay. Now you see the total supply is 21 million, but there has not been 21 million created yet. Right. So you can't use the 21 million figure. You're going to use the actual circulating supply figure. So when you run these two numbers against each other, you get the current price. Okay. So now, when people make projections on where they think the Bitcoin price is going to be, they make that based off of how much money they think can flow into the market. Okay. So Mike, when we were sitting at, 68,000 at our all-time high, we had roughly 3 times as much.
Yeah, exactly.
In the market cap, right? The market cap is at like 1.2,
1.3 trillion just in Bitcoin.
And just in Bitcoin. And so when it was there, you had a $68,000 Bitcoin. Okay. So this is how you make this arrangement and you figure out, okay, this is how I can estimate what is potential for a project. Okay. Now,
well, and what's so important, if I can interject, what's so important about those tokenomics, if you go back to Bitcoin, right, where Brad was saying there is, 21 million max supply. That number is very important when you're looking at a project to invest in, because if a coin, like let's say Dogecoin, has this almost infinite supply, you got trillions and trillions of coins that are available. You would need more money than is in the world to come over into crypto to make that coin worth something to you. Right.
And absolutely. Which is the whole point of this episode, right? It's to understand that, because the people that are out there saying Shiba Inu, let's go to Shiba, for example. People are like Shiba to $1. Okay. Well, look at this circulating supply that Shiba has. Okay. So Shiba to $1. I mean, look at it. It's like, what is this? That would be a cent. That's a 100th of a cent, right? So it's like,
you're talking about
it's so far back. I mean, it's insane, And so okay, so just to get Shiba to a cent, 1 cent
Yeah.
how much
That's a
money
thousand X.
has to flow into this marketplace.
Yeah.
You know,
That's a
let's
thousand
argue.
X just to get to a cent. So if you want to get it to $1, you're
Yeah,
talking about 100,000 X.
right.
Like no
So
coin has done that.
yeah, so well, let's do 100,000 X of a six. Was that a $6 million market cap? $7 million market cap?
Right.
Okay, so
Billion.
$7 million market cap or billion,
Yeah,
right?
7 billion.
Yeah, $7 billion market cap times you said 1,000,
100,000. If you're wanting to get to
100,000.
$1.
Okay, it doesn't even give
Did it
me
break
a
the calculator?
number. It broke my calculator. So that's a
The calculator got really
700.
hot. He
It's
had to
a
drop it.
$700 trillion market. $700 trillion.
It's not happening.
The market cap for crypto is $1 trillion right now. So the people that want to say Shiba to $1, you need $700 trillion to come just into Shiba.
Yep.
Okay. So, you know, that's a 700X on the entire marketplace,
Right.
just into one coin.
So like that's why you've got to analyze. You've got to
Right.
think about tokenomics. You know, tokenomics includes the supply. Yes, it includes utility, but Shiba can't come out, no matter whether they come out with the metaverse that every single person in the world wants to use. Like this, it can't get to where it needs to get. Like for that to go to $1.
Right. So that's why you have to understand your price projections.
Yep.
You know, and the only other way that they could do that is if they ended up cutting the supply. So you hear like stocks sometimes will do stock splits because you know they want to reach more retail buyers, right? So like maybe, you know, I think Amazon recently was doing a stock split, right?
Yes.
And so I think their stock was at what, like it was a couple $1,000s,
couple
right?
thousand, and it's down into the hundreds. They did a split.
Yeah. So they did a split. So they did like a 10-to-1 split or basically something like that. And so doing the stock split actually made more supply. Okay. This would be reducing the supply.
Yeah.
So like let's say you had, you know, 100,000 Shiba and then they turned it into one Shiba.
Right.
Then now you're talking about the idea of, you know, maybe being able to get closer to a higher dollar valuation or higher cent evaluation in this particular example.
Right.
So that's why you look at that, right? So, you know, so people will go in and they'll say, okay, XRP to, you know, $15. All right. So, you know, XRP to $15, XRP to $10, whatever it may be. I mean, XRP has been at $3.50 before. You know, to believe that it could get to $10 is not far-fetched in my opinion. You know, and so, you know, you do the same thing, circulating supply, market cap. How much more market cap do you need in that to be able to get to whatever targets that you think you need?
Right.
Okay. And so as you are hearing about different projects and how they're being used, and then start thinking about how much money can come into those spaces, now you can determine where you think exit points should be, or what like long-term potential is on a project that you're going to hold for a long time. Like, you know, for example, Bitcoin, I believe Bitcoin easily can be a $10 trillion market. Okay. Well, what does that do to Bitcoin's price? Bitcoin is $1 million, you know, and so I 100% believe that. And so long-term perspective, that's the way I look at it. So, you know, so when you start trying to figure that kind of stuff out, that is the way you evaluate tokenomics.
Good stuff, man. That's good stuff. It's so important too. I mean, because if you're looking at a project and you can go in and say, okay, what's this market cap look like? Can it 10x? Does it even have room to do that, right? And you want to compare that to your other investments that you have and say, I want to put in $1 and I want to get 10 out, right? Well, I'm going to look at these tokenomics for this project. I like what this project is doing. It has good utility. You know, I think it's something that a lot of people would like to use, or, you know, like a project like XRP where they are they're going to be affecting the global payment system, right? And
Sure.
so that has utility. So once you get past the utility, you've got to start looking at supply of the coin itself, right? And
Yep.
whether or not that it makes sense for that project.
Right.
And so that's it. These tokenomics are so important when you're looking at stuff. Like
Right.
something can have the greatest utility in the world,
Right.
but if they've screwed up the tokenomics right out of the gate, then that project can't reach the
Right.
dollar value that it needs to
Right.
get to. Right?
Right.
It's
This is
impossible.
and we're going to talk about trading plans and how to build a trading plan for yourself and in one of these future boot camps over the next couple of weeks. But when you're looking at these, I mean, that's something to be considering, because I went through a thought process last maybe a year or so ago, and I was thinking, okay, between Bitcoin and Ethereum, what has the bigger growth potential at that time,
Yep.
and I personally chose Ethereum, which ended up being a good choice for me because I felt like it had a larger potential gain, also based on its current price that I was sitting at.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So I could get more Ethereum for my money, and I thought it had a larger potential increase. Okay. So same thing. So like, just, real quick, I'll share this thought because people are going to do this. Why is this on the screen? Go away. There we go. Okay, so people are going to come on here and they're going to say, oh, well, Bitcoin's at $22,000. I can't afford a Bitcoin. Okay. Ethereum's at $1,500. Oh man, I could do that, but that's a stretch. Oh, well, this Tether thing's at 99 cents. Like, I'll buy a bunch of that. It's the number 3. Well, you got to know what Tether is.
You got to know its utility.
You got to know its utility. And Tether is always going to be $1.
Right.
Then you come down on BNB, 261. Okay, like that's starting to sound more reasonable. I could get some of that. Well, what am I going to do with it? And XRP, 36 cents. Okay, so maybe those are things I get into instead of Bitcoin. So then what you want to do is you want to understand, okay, what is the circulating supply? What's their market cap? All right. Where have they been before? All-time high on BNB is 686. All right. Let's just look at a chart. Okay, it's been up to $686.
And that's really important, right?
200.
Yeah.
All right. And so, you start looking at this stuff and you're like, all right, this is really interesting. Now you can see BNB hasn't made a full market cycle yet. I mean, it could still potentially drop way down, down here. I mean, it still has the chance to come all the way down to these levels if this market cycle is not finished yet.
There's not a lot holding
this is not financial advice. I'm just using this as an example. So BNB, okay, I see the price. I see the circulating supply. That's a pretty low circulating supply, compared to a lot of coins. All right. So we're, in the millions, we're not in the billions. So I like that. And, it's got a healthy market cap.
Right.
Cool. How much more money would need to get poured into this to triple my investment? And so you think about that. Okay. And so that's what I do. I think about, okay. And then what I started to realize was, in a lot of cases, the risk to reward was going to be roughly the same a lot of times if you're looking at top projects. So I just stick with the ones I like the most.
Yeah.
It's not as exciting as it was when I first got into crypto and I was investing in like 40, 50 different cryptos and stuff like that. But now I'm like, okay, like if the risk to reward's the same, I don't care if this one costs $5,000 or, whatever to get into it, or like buy a fraction of a Bitcoin.
Yeah. You don't need to buy a whole one,
or whatever. Like if it's going to 3X and the other is going to 3X, but I feel like the likelihood of Bitcoin to 3X is better, then I'm going to go with the one I feel like has the better likelihood to move. When you take an understanding of tokenomics of a particular asset, and you take an understanding of the market cap analysis of like how much money could actually flow into this, because I understand the utility of a project, I understand what it does, why people want to use it, and where the money may come from. You know, you mentioned like XRP helping like payment systems, stuff like that. You're gonna have banks pouring into that,
Right.
you know, and so it's like, where is money coming from? Or are you looking at like a Shiba, right? That is primarily going to be drawn by like retail traders pumping it and going crazy, or random, you know, billionaires making a tweet saying,
Right.
you know, Shiba to the moon, or Tesla's gonna, you know, now accept Shiba and Doge, and then price pumps, price dumps, and so it's like, you know, understanding what is really contributing to this. Is this a Wall Street bets move, or is this an actual monetary system move
Right.
that's happening? So when you put all those layers together, you'll be able to make better financial decisions. And so I hope that this, you know, quick, you know, tutorial on tokenomics is helpful to you guys. I hope it helps you see, you know, how the space can work, how money flows in and out of things. And, you know, if it did, you know, share the video, like it,
Right.
comment on it. If you got questions on it, comment, and we'll come into your comments, answer your questions and stuff like that. But hopefully this is helpful information. Hopefully everyone's learning something here. I know that as I started understanding tokenomics, it started to make a lot more sense to me on why I wanted to invest and how I wanted to invest.
Yeah, I mean, it's very timely because there's a lot of people starting to hear the word crypto and being like, what is that? And somebody that you know who may not know about crypto, but you guys have been like just kind of chit-chatting about it or whatnot, you could share this episode with them and they can get their intro, you know, if to how do I even look at a coin? How do I even look at a project? How in the world do I know what to invest in? Right? You know, I can go to coingecko.com and see these 12,000 different, you know, coins, but you've got 95% of those that are crap. Like they're not
Right.
going to do anything, right? And so you have to know what you're looking at. And this tokenomics is the baseline tool to understand and utilize when you're picking a new project. And there's lots of good opportunities right now to do that. So guys, we hope you got some value out of this. You know, if you did, like, subscribe, share it. We love sharing this stuff with you guys, and we appreciate every single one of you that have been tuning in. And we're excited to bring you more. Next week, we are going to touch on security. So maybe you found a project that you want to invest in and you want to keep it more longer term. We're going to touch on some ways for different wallet types where you can store your crypto safely, get it off of the exchanges, where it is your keys, your crypto, and keep it where you want to. So we're going to touch on that next week. We appreciate you guys tuning in this week, and we hope to see you then. Brad, have an awesome rest of your week, man. And
Yes, sir. You, Mike.
We're signing out. We will catch every one of you later.
Yep. You guys go make it a great day. We'll see you next time.
That's right.